let's get into this right here since we're talking about Brough Code. What is like the main focus or, the theme of Brough Code? What is it all going to be about? What can we, expect? Because I know, Victor, you were saying earlier about tackling the view, but is there anything else, anything more? Eric, I'm gonna come to you with this. What can we all expect from each every one of you guys?
I think what you can expect is a little bit more of a wider scope of topics. We are trying to really stick to the view because we do feel like it's a platform that not a lot of people have a lot of after shows about or even have a lot of discussions about what these ladies are talking about. And they're talking about very relevant things that are happening now in the moment. Every morning they're on our television. They're telling us what's happening in the news. And I think that while Brough Chat is more centered around what's happening in a entertainment world, I think we are going to be more shifting in what's happening in the world as far as like policies and views and how we take those and how we interpret them from the different points of life that we all have come from. I think we all get along very well, but we are very, very different to say the least. Because you can see Dave go from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds, but most of the time he's pretty chill, but he's very, very informative, very knowledgeable. And I think one thing that we do a really good job at is listening to each other. Just, having filmed our first few episodes, it was very debatable. We were definitely not on the same page all the time, but you could definitely hear that we were listening to each other, learning from each other, while also having a great time. It still has to have a sense of entertainment and a sense of like, I want to see these people talk about these things. And I think that this group of people and with our little bro family, I think that we're going to really be able to deliver on that because it's really geared towards more of the world issues, what's happening now in the world, and not necessarily, why Candy's not on episode 3.
Right, right, yes, and that's what right before we began with the show today. It was backstage and how your guys, chemistry. That's what I love right there, because working onto a show together, and this is how I feel. You have to have chemistry with other, with your co-host onto it. You have to have that relationship in order, because yes, you're gonna have disagreements. My team can attest to that because I disagree with a lot of them all the time. Let me tell you about it. Don't get me started. But we be respectful about it. At least we hear each other out, just like he was saying, and it's just not bickering back and forth. We're listening to each other out because we are entitled to our own opinions, and that is okay. That is perfectly fine. So I love that right there. Again, I'm so looking forward to it. I really am. Victor, let me come back to you. Because you're actually on both, on Brough Chat and on Brough Code. So how does Brough Chat differentiate from Brough Code from itself, because those two are very different platforms. How do they seem different, but something in a lot of ways seem together in some way? So how are they very different from each other from your perspective?
Yeah. So I would say they're different from each other in the fact that, well, of course it's a different panel. So Tamar and Izzy we have on Brough Chat, and then we have Eric and Damian here on Brough Code. And the tone of the topics and conversation is extremely different, which is why there's a separate Brough Chat and Brough Code YouTube channel. So please go and support us on Brough Code, BROUGH Code on YouTube. You can search that up. And all of our videos and all of our content is going to be there. And everything Brough Code oriented is around the view. Everything Brough Chat oriented is around housewives, reality TV, etc. So they're in kind of separate lanes. I'm just extremely excited that I'm now an OG, because I was never an OG before that.
OG of the BC.
OG of the BC. So I was excited because I was the very first guest co-host of Brough Chat. Yes. And I'm excited to be here as the very first co-host. I'm excited to be here on a panel that we're talking about American politics, the American political climate, as well as other things. We will be talking about music, general pop culture, but we are going to be discussing the American political climate. And while some people might be looking at me and be saying, you're from the UK, you do not live in America, why are you discussing the future of the American political scene? And my response to that would be, what happens in America is a microcosm to what happens in the rest of the world. So with what happened with Donald Trump being elected, the misinformation, the tactics that he had to get into power inspired that across the world. I'm a dual citizenship. I'm dual Brazilian and UK, so I can vote in Brazil and in the UK. I'm a citizen of both. And Bolsonaro, he's a version of Trump, someone who wanted to put CCTV cameras in classrooms, someone who wanted to change the jail prison system to be able to punish people a lot more severely for smaller crimes such as theft. So for all of those things, he doesn't have that respect for that system. So we're seeing that echo, especially in Latin America, that's echoing from what's happening. And even in the UK, a lot of the rhetoric that comes from the anti-abortion laws, a lot of the rhetoric that comes from drag, that's trickling across the world. So what happens in America echoes for the rest of the world. So I do think that we need to be aware. I think people outside of America need to be aware to what's happening to the political climate, because things travel. Just as COVID, terrible things travel, so does misinformation, so does lies, so does discrimination. And we need to keep our eyes open. And I think that's what I want to do in this panel. I want to represent an outside perspective looking in, but also someone who can be affected by everything that's happening. Not as directly, but in the bigger terms of things.
Yes.
And even to support him more, like, I think it's really important to remember that democracy comes from diversity, and to making sure that we are having different people speak from different points of view, from different parts of the world. Because the one thing America does is we like to pretend our stuff don't stink. And it's smelly and it's very, very, very cultured. And so it's better to learn from people if they're doing something better in a different country. You look at UK's healthcare, it is 10 times better than anything we have in America. And if we don't listen to those people, and we don't listen to those point of views, we get stuck in the rut that we're kind of in now. So I fully support having, especially someone who's dual citizenship, like, because some people from Latin America and is also representing, Europe, to give us those insights, because we don't see that often because we're so crowded with the pollution that is our political system.
I agree. I absolutely agree with everything you gentlemen are saying. And Damian, before we head to break, I just wanted to know from you, like, how was you first introduced to Brough Chat? How did you came in contact with Mitch? I need to hear this.
Yes. So interestingly enough, I was on Instagram and I found the Brough Chat page, and I've always loved housewives, just like, a lot of us do. We love the pop culture reality genre, and I've felt like a housewives expert, so to speak. So, when I'm talking to my family and friends, I don't know about y'all, but they be like, yeah, I don't really. Who? What? So when I found this, I'm like, hey, Mitch, anytime you need somebody, call me. It was literally just that. I just wanted to talk housewives with a bunch of guys like myself, like-minded guys. And, it kind of came from that, which, from there, he held a whole audition process that was very nerve-wracking, where we went through rounds, battling out other guys. Eric was there with me. Victor was along the way, not auditioning, but there to help us. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and that's ultimately how I got introduced, and we're here today.
Yes, and the rest is history. The rest is history, because now you're on the Damian show. All of you guys are on the Damian show. I'm loving it.
We made it.
Yes.
And even though Damian and Eric didn't, make it to the end of Brough Search, Mitch said something at the end when they were left the chat room. He said, "You may be leaving the chat room today, but the brotherhood is always open." And here we are reunited as a brotherhood. So this is proof that we kept word, and that the people.
I was the first one eliminated.
Oh my gosh.
But the people spoke. The people spoke, and they loved us. They loved Eric and I both. So, you know, give the people what they want.
Exactly. Say that again. Say that again. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, hey, hey.